Oh, Lord! Hindi! Manina! Ganito siya, girl. Imagine mo yung face na hindi galit na siya. And after that, sabi ng mother niya, drawing! No! I said, Manina! Ganito na siya. Then yung nasa set up ang nag-iisip ko, sabi ko, Punino? Ano yung Punino? Captain Punino ba yun? Pinaka lang sabi niya, hindi nga! Punino! Kasi talaga nagwawala na siya. And then, finally, naisip ng mother niya, you need pipino! Oo, pipino. Sabi ko naman ng mother niya yung kinakat ng pipino, and then binigay niya sa baby niya. You know, habang after nun, nag-smile niya yung bata. Pero, what I realized sa situation na yun, na sobrang galing na yung bata, yung Jay, hindi siya ng pulino. In her mind, akala na naiintindihan siya yung mga tao sa paligid niya. That's her own perspective. That's the perspective ng ibang tao. I have no idea what she is talking about. Same with us. You know, going back to the passage na binasa natin in verse 23, the Lord is saying to Peter, you know what? You know, Peter, the kind of perspective that you are having is based on the perspective of man. And that's not based on the perspective of my Father. And again, probably you're asking, bakit tinawag ni God na si Peter? Some theologians are suggesting that based on Matthew chapter 4, you know the story, sabi ni Jesus Christ, you remember that story when he was tempted by Satan, by the devil himself? Sabi ng devil, you know what, Jesus? Sabi niya, ang dali lang naman eh. All you have to do is to jump dun sa high place. Then after jumping, you can have your kingdom. If you study that by you know why? Kasi after jumping, when the devil takes Jesus, kapag nag-levitation, makikita ng mga tao, pag nakita ng tao, sabi na, you are definitely the Son of God. Eh, naisip ko, oo man. Why not mag-magic ka lang, lumilipad ka, hindi na matakas sa God. May background na mo pa, why? Pero you know what? Hindi tinake Jesus Christ yung shortcut na yun. In the same manner, si Peter is like offering the kingdom to God, like the devil, and yet he's removing the cross, yung suffering that God the Father has set for Jesus. And I want you to understand this passage. Si Peter, what he's suggesting is based on the devil's wisdom. And I want to give you a warning this morning. It's not in a form of question. Is it possible, can you answer this? Is it possible also for us, for Christian, to speak for the devil while, yung advice natin is based on the welfare of that Christian or that person? Is it possible that we are also offering, that we are speaking for the devil as we are offering? So let us be careful whenever we give, advices. We're talking about earthly perspective versus heavenly perspective. And probably you're asking, wait lang, okay, so denying yourself means you have to deny your earthly perspective and try to look from God's perspective, according to verse 23. So yun yung isa sa mga definition of denying yourself. So how can I relate with that? I realize, and some of us here, dumadami yung couples, kasi I noticed growing yung couples ministry natin every Saturday. And so if you're in a relationship, sa mga singles, mahinig tayo. Sa mga couples, siguro, even before tayo pumunta dito sa church, you're experiencing this problem with your spouse, or probably last night, meron kang problem, and you've been fighting over and over again with this specific matter, or probably this past few weeks, paulit-ulit na lang, and you're sick and tired of solving this issue in your life. Some of you are smiling, siguro nakaka-relate na. Okay pala dito sa akin, makikita mo yung nakaka-relate. Anyways, so, and you're in the point, siguro, giving up already. And you say, are you saying to yourself, it's really difficult to be in this relationship. But for some of you, probably, you're saying, I want to give up already. And I don't understand why is this happening to us. We started right naman in our relationship. So you apply this principle, probably the Lord is telling you this morning. And I want you to look up on your own perspective. I want you to understand. I want you to base your perspective based on my perspective. That instead of focusing on the problem, I want you to focus on me. Probably we are all familiar that, we are supposed to put God in the center of every relationship. Tama? But this time, probably the Lord is telling you, I want you to apply that. And how do you apply that? Instead of focusing yourself, kasi tayo, in order for us to find our security, in order for us to be secure in our love sa spouse or sa future spouse natin, we tend to look for yung affirmation that we can get from them. We tend to look for yung gifts, probably, that's where love language, or probably for some of us, we tend to look for yung quality time that we are receiving from our spouse. And for some of us, if they are serving you, you feel that, you're secure in your love. But probably the Lord is telling you, although that is true to us, you know what? I don't want to base your security on those things. I want you to base your security on me. And once we put our security on the Lord, instead of focusing on the problem, we are focusing on the character of God. That God is powerful. That God is in control. Do you believe that God is in control of your relationship? And once you apply that in your life, that instead na i-put natin yung security natin on what we can get from our spouse, you will have that peace of mind. And instead of stress, you know what you will get? You will get security after that. And once you have that security, the Lord will tell you, see, that's my perspective. I want you to focus on me, not on your spouse. That's just an example on how we can relate. See, probably right now, this morning, the Lord is telling you that I want you to let go of that and allow God to take over, especially when it comes to your perspective in your life. You really have to let go and let God. That's the first one. And the last one, like the message natin is, let's all be ready, go. So how do you apply letting go and letting God? First, you have to deny yourself. Second principle, and last principle according to verse 24, the Lord said, if you want to be my disciples, in the face of the suffering that you are encountering right now, you want to be my disciple? First, you have to deny yourself. And second, he said, you have to carry your own cross and follow me. So let's see. What carrying the cross is not. So, in order for us to understand yung term of carrying the cross, let's see what it is not. It is not about the burden in our lives. Most of us, yung definition natin of carrying the cross is based on the burden that we are experiencing. You see, burden in our lives, we are referring to bad relationship. We are referring to physical illness or difficult people. That once you encounter these people, you're saying, Lord, this is my cross. But the Lord is saying, you know what? That's not the cross that I meant when I said, carry your cross and follow me. So let's see. What carrying the cross is. So in order for us to understand, we have to understand the background of the story. During the time of Christ, that was 2,000 years ago, remember, di ba nasakop sila ng mga Roman soldiers? And back then, when they were invaded by the Roman soldiers, if you are the worst criminal, what are you supposed to do? Hindi na lang pwede na lang siyang patayin, di ba? But you know what? Ayaw nila nun. They want him to suffer. So what they will do, they will allow you to carry your cross. And while carrying your cross, you are being ridiculed by people. Sinner, maling tao, worst criminal. Then you're tingin na sa'yo. And you know what? Aside from that, while Jesus himself was carrying his cross, yung tao, they are not thinking, first century people, during his time, they're not thinking of the burden of it. They're not thinking of the weight of the cross. The first thing and the only thing that pops in their mind whenever somebody's carrying the cross during their time is that, this person is a walking dead. The first thing that pops to mind nila is that this person is already dead. They're like saying, the death that we're talking about is the most painful and humiliating type of death. So, in other words, take up your cross and follow me means you are willing to die in order for you to follow Jesus. And during their time, yung mga disciples, upon hearing that, okay, the Lord is instructing me, being his disciple, to take up my own cross. It's like the Lord is telling me, I have to be willing to die for Jesus. Physical death na pinag-usapan natin. And you know what? The disciples, they took it seriously. Let's see, you know what happened to the disciples? Familiar kayo kung ano nangyari sa disciples? You know what happened to them? First thing that happened to them is this. One of them, si Andrew, the brother Peter, he was also crucified. So just like Jesus, he literally took up his own cross and he willfully died for Jesus. And aside from him, let's see, Bartholomew, he was beaten, then crucified in India. Imagine, beaten up. Just like this, he was also beaten. And aside from Bartholomew, some of the disciples, the followers, si James the Great, siya yung older brother ni John. He was beheaded, okay? Hindi nga siya na-crucified, but he was beheaded. And another example, si James naman the Less. Who made James the Great and James the Less. Hindi si Pastor Lester. Si James the Less. He was beaten, ito mas matindi. And after being beaten, he was stoned. And then clubbed to death at the age of 94. Imagine 94 years old ka na. And then you will be beaten and stoned. Can't imagine. And aside from that, we have Jude. Jude, the brother of James, he was also crucified in Edessa. And aside from him, we have Luke, he was hung on an olive tree. And then Mark was dragged to death in Alexandria. And Matthew, he was killed with a weapon. Grabe, ito si Matthew, he was killed with a weapon that had a blade and spike. Imagine! So in their mind, talaga, they took it seriously. And the Lord said, you have to be willing to die for me. They're willing to really give their life to Jesus. And aside from Matthew, we have Matthias, who was stoned and then beheaded in Jerusalem. Paul, the Apostle Paul, he was beheaded with a sword in Rome. And then Peter, he was crucified. Sabi ni Peter, I'm not worthy to be crucified the way Jesus was crucified. So he was crucified upside down. And then aside from Peter, Philip, he was scourged in prison and then he was crucified.